Right, so today's video we're going to be talking about every game I played, with emphasis to talking about every game that I finished in 2025. We're approaching the end of the year. It's less than 2 weeks away. Christmas is right around the corner. I'm going to be taking a little bit of a break. When I say a little bit of a break, I'm basically not going to be till like the 5th of January. There won't be a video from me, and I'm also going to be taking a break from streaming. We're going to get the charity streams done on the 23rd, and then after the 23rd, we're not going to stream again until the 5th of Jan. So yeah, I wanted to get a few of my kind of like end of year videos out before I wanted to get like my end of year videos out before before Christmas, or before the 23rd anyway. So we're going to start with... By the way, not all of these games are going to be... Not all of these games are going to be... I'm not going to be talking about every game on here, by the way, because not everything is something that I beat. I didn't beat every game that I started this year, but I did beat, I think, more games this year because I basically forced myself to. I did beat more games this year. You're probably seeing at the top the donation bar. That is for Twitch, so don't. that's a Twitch thing. So I basically just got it up there, so that people know. Head on over to Twitch after this video's done, and there's charity stuff going on over there, raising money for Mind. But yeah, essentially, that's my way of blagging out of I just forgot to remove that before the start. So yeah, that's basically that. But we're just gonna talk about the games that I beat this year. And the first one that I beat back in January is Mighty Morphin Power Rangers Rita's Rewind. I really liked this. I don't rate games numerically, but oh yeah, it's got that I've put 8 hours into it. That's only because I played it twice. I played it at the start of the year, and then I played it after it got its update. I really like this. There's some stuff in it that I thought was a bit janky, and it's nowhere near as good as the Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. It's not my favourite beat 'em up of the year. That goes to something that I'm going to talk about much later in the video. But I did like this. I don't rate games numerically, but if I did rate this numerically, I would have given it a 6 out of 10. It's above average. It's a lot of fun. It does some things that it basically feels like a game you would have played in the 90s. Just again, it's good for that little hit of nostalgia. It's very short, and I feel like that's not really a bad thing for a beat 'em up, but it's very short, and even with it being short, when it did come out, it was very simple. It was very mindless, and I know those kind of games do get that way sometimes, but it is very mindless. I finished Sonic X Shadow Generations this year. I started it way back when way back at way back in December, and I didn't finish it because my stream was basically fucking up. So I decided I'm gonna save this. I'm gonna leave it till I'm gonna leave it and I'm gonna play it next year when my stream stuff is working again. And basically, I really liked this. I really like this. I really like the shadow sections, or the shadow generations half of the game, more so than I liked the Sonic Generation stuff. I feel like if I played Sonic Generations back in day, I would have appreciated that more, but I think this is the definitive way to play Sonic Generations, especially because it has basically another game on top of it as well. And it's not like, and Shadow Generations isn't like just DLC, isn't just like a Shadow DLC. Basically, it is basically like a spin-off slash pseudo sequel that takes place at the same time as Sonic Generations. It's a very good game. It's a very good game. Again, I don't rate games numerically, but if I did, it'd be an 8 out of 10. It's very good. I played Evil West very early on this year. I really liked this. It's essentially God of War, but what if Kratos was a cowboy? New God of War though, so so it's kind of like that over the shoulder, very like it's like what if God of War, but cowboys, and it's a bit of a boomer shooter as well. It doesn't go full on like Doom. It still feels way more like it feels like it's definitely an action game with like third person shooting elements to it, and it is very fun. The story is nothing to this game. The story is very insubsequential. However, the gameplay of this, it feels so good to play. It's on par with the gameplay of God of War, which, you know, the gameplay of God of War is like, you can take it or leave it. It's on par with that, plus the shooting, so it's got some more interesting stuff to it as well. However, the only thing that what makes God of War better than this is A, the story is so good in God of War, B, this game is incredibly short. This game is like 7 hours. I've put 21 hours into it because I've started it and restarted it, and I've started it, gotten to certain points and restarted it. But this year was the year that I was like, right, I'm finishing Evil West because the wheel told me to, and because like this was the one that essentially at the start of the year I made a random name generator, and whatever that wheel would land on, that would be the game that I would beat. And the first game that it landed on was Evil West, and so I finished Evil West very early on in the year. I love this. I loved my time with this game, man. I love my time with this game. I don't rate games numerically, but if I did, this would be a 7.5. Then we have Lego Harry Potter. I know Harry Potter as a brand is very tumultuous at this time. However, Lego Harry Potter is a above average older Lego game. What I mean by that is it doesn't have all the bells and whistles of a new Lego game, which is like the massive hub worlds and like really flashy animations and voice acting. But what it does do is it is a faithful, if more humor centric rendition uh, of the 7 films. Yeah, it's a faithful rendition of the 7 films, the 8 films. However, I just don't like how magic works in this, and there's not much in the variety of like different characters to play as that the game will make you play as. Uh, However, and like most of the game being set in Hogwarts, it does get very repetitive after a while, and especially playing this game as it was the only game I was playing um, for like a couple of weeks, I felt it grate on me quite a bit, and that's probably the general like Lego game experience. Is it will start to grate on you towards the end. This started to grate on me towards the end. I did enjoy my time with it, but I think comparing it to other games that I finished this year, and games that I you know just other better experiences that I had this year, and comparing it to modern Lego games and the standard of modern Lego games, this is just okay. This is only okay. I don't rate games on a numerical scale. However, if I did, this would be a 6.5. It's fine. We then need to talk about the divisive and controversial Dragon Age the Veilguard. This game is the opposite of every other game that I played this year. That meaning this game is very long. It's a massive open RPG with like branching choices. You know, a massive story. The story of this game I didn't feel attached to as much as I did with Inquisition, which is the other Dragon Age game that I have played. I didn't feel as attached to this one as I did in Inquisition. However, I feel like I felt more attached to the characters in this one more so than in Inquisition. I feel like Dragon Age is a RPG series that lives and dies by the characters and the character interactions more so than the overarching story, more so than like big epic uh, boss battles and set pieces. Even though that is in the game, um, I feel like it's the characters that that kind of won me over with this game. Do I think? Do I share kind of the same kind of opinion that some of the writing in this game is a little bit weak? Yes. Do I feel like some of the politics behind the game are a little forced? Yes and no. Yes and no. The the big elephant in the room with this game is Tarsh being non-binary. I feel like if that as a blatant statement of this game has a non-binary character in it, that is a blanket statement. If you have a problem with that, then you are the problem, not the game. Where I kind of agree with some of the sentiment of a little bit of the pushback from that is Tash is badly written. It's a badly written character. Comes across very aggressive at the start of the game. Uh, And, that's just not something that kind of represents the non-binary people that I know. So that's just, you obviously there's a thing called character development, and that character does get developed throughout the game. It's the last party member that you unlock. You spend the least amount of time with Tash. And the game doesn't really incentivize you using Tash because she's not as useful, or they are not as useful. I apologize. They are not as useful as other characters. So that's my only thing. The game isn't as good as Inquisition, in my opinion. The overall combat is very repetitive, and the environments do get very samey over and over. But the thing is, you spend so much time. You spend over 40 hours with these characters. You end up caring, and you end up getting emotional when stuff happens to them. At least I did anyway. So for that reason, I don't rate games numerically. However, if I did, Dragon Age the Veilguard is a 7.5. To caveat that, Inquisition is probably about an 8.5, if not a 9. It's a whole point drop down. Not because angry non-binary character, but because I feel like just almost everything in the game takes a step back from Inquisition. And 10 years later, everything should be taking a step forward. It should have been going from a 9 to a 10. Instead, it went from a 9 to a 7.5. But 7.5 is still good. It's still way above average. I then play Grid Legends, and Grid Legends is the most interesting, unique way of doing a story in a racing game. Not that the story is good, mind. It's serviceable, and it acts as a way to push you forward and to just get to the next race. However, blending in live action, like documentary style cutscenes with the gameplay and just going through the motions of playing the game, do I feel like it's a massively unique racing game? No. But I did like the variety of vehicles that it gives you. I do like that the story mode, the campaign, does force you into using every vehicle in the game at least once, and it goes by relatively quickly. It's not like a Need for Speed where I feel like it goes on for way too long. This one you can be in and out within like 7 hours, which, for a video game is quite brisk. For a sexual encounter, quite long and strenuous. But I really liked my time with Grid Legends, and I mean, overall it's a racing game that's over like that. But I did like having this kind of documentary style through line to go through it. Does it feel like campy B movie a little bit? Yes. Do I really love that? Also, yes. Grid Legends, for me, I don't give games numerical scores. However, if I did, this would get a 6.5. Something I played quite a bit of this year, and something that I was, especially with like 27 hours into it, something that I was surprised was on my top 5 of games that I put the most amount of time into this year. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. I counted beating this as like rescuing Splinter, and I did uh, go through and get every part for um, Casey Jones's car. I haven't played that much as Metalhead, but from what I did play as Metalhead, I don't like him. I don't like playing as Metalhead that much. Uh, but yeah, this game is really fun. My first time like really diving into a roguelike like this. I've spent a lot of time with Vampire Survivors, and I really like that game. But this is the first time like going through like a Hades style roguelike. And but this ain't no Hades, but this is good. This is really good. And, you know, it sucked enough time out of me. It sucked enough time out of me to put in like 27 hours into it over the course of this year. So I'd say out of that this game is pretty good. I don't give games numerical scores, but if I did, this would get a 7.5. We then got to talk about the big boy. This isn't my game of the year, by the way. This is not my game of the year. My game of the year is something else. However, this was my game of the year for a very long time. Sonic Racing Crossworlds is fantastic. And I would say, even though I haven't played Mario Kart World, I would say this is better than Mario Kart World, in my opinion. And the reason why, A, the Crossworlds, just having a completely different track in the middle of your race, changes the game completely. B, the roster, I just prefer Sonic characters, man. That and freaking SpongeBob's in this, you know. And it's gonna have Mega Man before the end of the month. So yeah, this is a massively. This is like a big part of this year for me. Is Sonic Racing Crossworlds. I put a lot of time into streaming this, and I really enjoyed my time with it, and I'm really enjoying my time with it even now. Would I love if this game had a campaign? Yes. Just more excuses for me to play it. I love how much time you can put into the Grand Prix. I love the rival system. To me, there is not enough in this game at the moment to justify a full price tag, and there's certainly not enough to justify what I paid for it, which was £80. However, I don't feel it. I feel like it's a very good racing game. It's a massive step forward from Team Sonic Racing, which I thought was just fine. I don't give games numerical scores, but if I did, this would get a 7.5. We then need to talk about Hot Wheels Unleashed Supercharged or Turbocharged, which I played and I finally finished, I think, in like October. I finished it in October. I really liked my time with this. I really like this style of like Micro Machine style game. It was really fun to play. Do I think some of the races were a bit bullshit? Yes. But that beside the point. This is a very fun racing game, and it's a very fun like arcadey style racer with a lot of really unique styles of cars that all feel relatively different. All of the cars feel relatively different, and you can make any car work. So yeah, I don't give numerical scores to games, but if I did, this would get a 7. We then have Immortals of Avium, which uh, I I've seen people say that they've gotten through this game in like 7 hours. That this game is short. As you can see here, no. That is from like a couple playthroughs of like stopping and starting and restarting the game a couple times. But still, 7 hours. You're beating this game in 7 hours? What? Who? Who are you? What are you doing? You're skipping all the cutscenes, maybe. But, yeah, this game pissed me off to no end. I really enjoyed the first half of it. And then for the second half, or about half of the game, it's teasing you with a climax. This is edging the game. It's teasing you with like the game's gonna end soon. We're leading towards. It even has the final boss, the midpoint boss, and the final boss are the same boss fight. The exact same boss fight. I didn't think that this game was terrible. It's just the way that it's paced is so, like, it so teases you with, like, oh, this is the end of the game, this is the end of the game. Is it fuck? No. No, the game is never gonna fucking end. I was at a point with this game where I was like, I might just stop because this game feels like it's going on forever. Again, I don't give numerical scores to games, but if I did, I'd give it a 6.5. Like I said, above average. The gameplay is solidly fun. However, I just felt the overall pace of it and the way the game ends, especially, just pissed me off, man. Darksiders 3 beat Darksiders 1 and 2 a very long time ago. Like, well, way back when. And Darksiders 3 was something that I've been constantly starting and coming back to, and starting and restarting and then coming back to, and getting bored of it and then restarting again. I finally got through it this year, and I don't know why I didn't before. This game is really fun. It's nowhere near. It's not as good as Darksiders or Darksiders 2. And Darksiders Genesis kind of shat the bed for me a little bit. Not that it's bad by any means, but because it just refuses to work. It just refuses to work. So up until Darksiders 4 comes out, this might be my last foray into Darksiders for the time being. I really liked my time with Darksiders 3. A lot of people call it kind of the black sheep of the Darksiders quadrology, as it is. For me, I don't think it's that bad. I like a lot of things that this game does. It's one of the few Souls-like games that and I said that in air quotes, by the way. I don't feel like this is a Souls-like game at all. It's more challenging than the previous two, but it's not ball-bustingly hard like I find Souls-like games. But it is one of the few that I've finished. I've completed. This and the Final Fantasy one, whatever it's called, Stranger of Paradise. Again, I don't give numerical scores to games, but if I did, this would get a 7. We've then got to talk about what is possibly my game of the year. Between this and a game that I'm going to talk about later, the only reason why I'm not going to count this as my game of the year is because I haven't finished. I haven't finished this. But I've had a lot of fun with Ball X Pit. I've had a lot of fun with Ball X Pit. Just like, what if Breakout was also Vampire Survivors? That's essentially what I feel this game is, and it's so much fun. This game is the most addicting thing that's come out this year. Like, I have had to fight myself to not... I've had to fight with myself to not just be like... Just to be like, every stream this year is going to be a Ball X Pit stream. I've had to fight with myself at that. But yeah, I've really enjoyed my time with Ball X Pit. And I'm still enjoying my time with Ball X Pit. I'm nowhere near done with it. Yeah, I've been really enjoying this. Again, I don't attach numerical scores to games. However, if I did, I would give this a 9 out of 10. Easily one of the best. One of this year's best, in my opinion. And again, I haven't played a lot of games that came out this year. And the ones that I did play that came out this year aren't really the ones that are going to get lauded with all the attention. Ball X Pit, I feel like, was robbed for Indie Game of the Year. It was. Army of Ruin is... This I got because I wanted to do a video, or I wanted to do a series of videos, which was going through Vampire Survivors likes. And I saw this, I saw it cheap, and I was like, that's going to be one of the games that I talk about my Vampire Survivors likes. I ended up playing through quite a bit of it. I'm not going to go back to it because it does mess up my TV. However, I have had I have had fun with it. Again, it's that Vampire Survivors formula. It's heavily addicting. However, it's not as big as Vampire Survivors. I feel like it wants you to kind of... It wants you to do that. It wants you to do the grind more than Vampire Survivors does. And it's not as polished. You can tell that this was made by a B team. You can tell that this was made by the B team. However, it's still very fun, very addicting. I don't give numerical scores to games, but if I did, I would give this a 6 out of 10. Vampire Survivors got DLC this year, and I think I will talk about it. I'll talk about the Balatro DLC and so it got Emerald Diorama, which was free DLC, added quite a bit, added a new map that's really interesting. I really like this DLC. I'm going to talk about both of them together. And then I added Balatro stuff. And Balatro stuff is always fun. Balatro is a game that I haven't put that much time into, but I put a lot of time into Vampire Survivors. It's more Vampire Survivors stuff. More Vampire Survivors stuff, and there's going to be even more Vampire Survivors stuff next year with not only a Warhammer spin-off, not Warhammer DLC, a Warhammer spin-off. Also, we're getting a Dungeon Crawler Vampire Survivors, Vampire Crawlers, which just seems insane to me. I don't attach numerical scores to games, but if I did, Vampire Survivors DLC gets an 8 out of 10. Vampire Survivors always gets an 8 out of 10. It's the best deal you can get. And all of the new content this year is free. So even more reason to hype it up. We then have SpongeBob SquarePants Titans of the Tide, a very good 3D platformer, which is more in depth than you would expect for a 3D platformer based on a kids show. This is surprisingly a lot more intense than you would expect. And with a lot of games this year, I've had that feeling of just end already. I just want this to be over. With Titans of the Tide, I felt completely differently. I felt the complete opposite. When this game was over, I just wanted more of it. Hopefully it gets DLC. I don't know. I'm glad that what fucking team is this? I'm glad that Heavy Iron? It's not Heavy Iron. Gunfire Games? It's not Gunfire Games. What? No. Yeah, I didn't want to download it. I'm glad that more SpongeBob games are being made now. I feel like this is a really fun one, and it's kind of that kind of, this to me reminds me more of like Truth or Square, more so than Battle for Bikini Bottom. The Cosmic Shake was definitely like a Battle for Bikini Bottom spiritual successor. This to me feels like it's doing more things to kind of make it its own kind of thing. And I really appreciate that. I wish it was longer. I wish it was just like 10 hours instead of 7. We then talk about my game of the year, baby! Marvel Cosmic Invasion. I really liked this one. This was a good one. Using Annihilate... Oh, I didn't do the thing. I don't attach numerical scores to games. However, if I did, SpongeBob Titans of the Tide would get 7 out of 10. Like the amount of hours that it is. Yeah, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. Utilizing Annihilus. There were characters in this game I would have never expected to be in a game in general, let alone like a beat 'em up game. Having Cosmic Ghost Rider be playable. Nova didn't even show up in the Guardians of the Galaxy game, but Nova was playable last in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. Yeah. But then, like, Phyla Vel, Beta Ray Bill, and obviously all your classics like your Iron Man, your Captain Americas, your Spider-Man, your Venoms, your Wolverines. Yeah, this was a really good one, man. This is a really good one. Again, I don't attach scores to games. However, if I did attach scores to games, this would get a 9 out of 10. It's my game of the year for a reason, man. We then have the most recent game that I finished, Pac-Man World Repack. I finished this at the very end of last month even. Very end of last month even. I really enjoyed this one. I freaking love this one, man. Is it hard? Yes. Massively so. Is it fun? Massively so. This to me started off as like, I don't really get what this, I'm not picking up what this game's putting down. By World 2, I was fully in it. This had its hooks in me the same way that Crash Bandicoot had its hooks in me. And I'm so excited to get into the sequel, to get to Repack 2 next year. This really did something for me that I was not expecting it to, especially because I tried playing it at the start of the year. I did not click with it, and then I get into it at the end of the year, and I'm like, oh boy, this is actually really doing something for me. So, Pac-Man World Repack. I don't attach numerical scores to games. However, if I did, this would be getting a 7 out of 10. There's some jank, and there's a couple boss fights that I feel like are a bit BS, but the overall gameplay is really fun. I just feel like the level design maybe is not 100% my cup of tea, but I did, and like I said, the first world, it doesn't put its best foot forward, in my opinion. The first world is very you might be turned off by that because it is very simple, but as the game goes on, the levels start getting more in your face, and yeah, it goes, every level is better than the last until you get to the final world, which is a bit bullshit in my opinion, but everything else is great. So yeah, that is every game that I beat in the year of 2025. Next year I probably won't be getting through as many games, but I do want to try and get more consistent with finishing games and not just leave it to the end of the year, because a lot of these games I finished in November, and I don't really want to pack November next year with a crap ton of games. So what I will be doing, the plan for streams next year is we're going to be getting through the 2 Final Fantasy games that I've started but haven't gotten through. So we're going to be doing Final Fantasy 16 first. That's going to be my January game, and then my February game is going to be Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. And then after that, the sky's the limit. After that, I'm probably going to be redoing the wheel, and we're going to be restarting the wheel again and making our way through that as it goes. I do want to get Hi-Fi Rush finished, but I probably will be doing that in my own time because I've been playing through the game in my own time anyway. And I'm nearly done with it. I don't really want to how far am I into Hi-Fi Rush? Yeah, I'm 75% of the way through it. I want to get finished, and I'm probably going to do that in my own time. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next stream. I will see you guys in the next video. Hopefully you enjoyed. I am streaming over on Twitch, as the top of the screen will suggest. Twitch streams are for charity. We're raising money for Mind over on Twitch. So if you want to help out over there, we're streaming every day up until the 23rd. Just check it out whenever, and I'll be live more than likely. So I will see you guys then. Hopefully you enjoyed. Peace.